Yo, it's DeagleBeagle, and today we're gonna go over Spectrier and figure out how to use it when you have Fluttermane. And so back when Spectrier was used, I believe it was called Z moves, or Dynamax, whatever, and and you basically got a more powerful, way more powerful move when you used it. Excuse me. I don't know why my memory's so bad, but I remember people would use moves like Draining Kiss even for coverage, and it would make it into like a way more powerful fairy move. Yeah, I want to say Dynamax. And they would use other boosts like Calm Mind, Shadow Ball, Protect, Sub, Snarl, etc. Okay, so let's just go over a few ways to use Spectrier and explain why we haven't seen it used very much and how it has potential to be useful that Fluttermane doesn't have. So Fluttermane's ability is usually useless unless you're using Booster Energy or Sun with it. But usually people probably aren't. Well, Booster Energy is pretty common, but besides that, I mean, like, you have to have an item to activate that, like, ability, so it's not, like, just a benefit by itself. Like, Grim Neigh is like that. So basically it raises its offense one stage when it kills another Pokemon. Got it. So we could really make Spectrier focused on trying to get that kill, get the special attack raise. That's something that Fluttermane doesn't have. Let's compare the stats really quick. This has even more special attack than Fluttermane. It has more HP, more defense, more special attack. Attack isn't relevant. It has less special defense. It has barely less speed. So the main thing that it's probably missing is the fairy stab and the fairy moves like Dazzling Gleam and Moonblast. Okay, if it had that, I'd think there would be way more usage if it had a dual stab. But the fact that it only has one stab move means, at least in doubles, it means like you're just, it's typically more of like a defensive Pokemon, like setting up Trick Room or something, if you have like just one type. But normally you want two types so that you can like almost like double your chances of super affecting or doing at least neutral to one of the two Pokemon. So there is the disadvantage sometimes of that second type working against you, like Abomasnow being 4 times weak to fire, but there's ways around that with either Sash, or you could do lots. I mean, the dual typing actually can improve the typing overall. Like Scissor is probably a good example, even though it does make it 4 times weak to but there's other examples like Sableye. Anyways, Shadow Ball is obvious. That's going to be on like every single Spectrier. Terra Blast probably should be on almost every single Spectrier because if you're trying to get the Grim Neigh boost, you should probably use it like an offensive Pokemon because you're trying to use it to its niche and get Grim Neigh to activate. But I'll show you some other ways you could use it. But Shadow Balls, You don't have to have Snarl, but it is good to lower their special attack, and it's a spread move. So there's that. And if you're going to give it Terra Blast, I would probably give it Fighting, because Fighting has like the best coverage with Ghost, because Ghost doesn't super affect Normal. Normal's immune to it. Dark is resistant. Fighting is the only thing that Normal is weak to. So that, and it super affects Dark. It seems obvious that since it doesn't get a like Aura Sphere or whatever, you should use Terra Blast Fighting. And then other moves, like I was showing, there's not a lot of other good moves. So if you're using Specs, probably use like Psychic, because Dark Pulse is too similar to Shadow Ball most of the time, unless it's like Farrig Giraffe or whatever. Yeah, but Snarl is already a Dark move, so even though it's less power, I would use like Psychic if you're using a choice item with it. Probably like Choice Scarf or Choice Specs. So we actually should go to the tier list, speed tier list. So 182 Modest. Oh, I need to add that in. I forgot to add that in, my bad. 182 speed and 200 max. So, oh, I put it, yeah. I think I didn't put down all the neutral natures for Pokemon that are like not being used. So yeah, I guess I did do my job, but yeah, I don't want to clutter it out with too much stuff that isn't that common. So let's look at the speed tier. Gyarados with Scar for Dragon Dance is not going to be relevant. These, not. I need to take some of this off, actually. I don't even think is Passimian even allowed? I guess it is. No one uses that. They would use like Anaholipe instead. Okay, anyway, I guess I could have that there though. Talonflame, you might want to outspeed even though it has a priority move in Tailwind. No one uses Kilo Watchful anymore for some reason, even though they did use it in the beginning with a Garchomp. Okay, so a lot of this stuff isn't really used. Dondozo a little bit, but they probably wouldn't use that much speed. And then Sneasler, yeah, but it's not used that much. Let's look down the list. I have seen a lot of Adamant Chien-Pao, or even really, what I don't get is why people use like not max speed Chien-Pao if it's Sash. Like, that makes no sense to me, because if it's Sash, use its Sash. Like, just give it max speed and max offense. But I think some people give it like max HP or something, but that to me makes no sense with Sash. I mean, it could make sense in some situations, but anyways, we gotta focus on Spectrier. So, in other words, there's not a lot of Pokemon besides Chien-Pao where you would want the max speed. So I would probably give it Modest, but well, actually, no. You probably should outspeed Chien-Pao, at least the Adamant one, but they could use like Jolly. So I mean, Modest or Timid is going to be good. So take your pick. I would probably give it like 196 speed to outspeed Talonflame. if I made it timid. And then give it choice specs for this one. For the other one, well, I guess I don't need to copy everything. But choice scarf. If you're using scarf, though, I would use modest. And then let's look at the speed tiers again. Well, 179 times 1.5. 268. But it can have more than that. So, or actually, I should say 182 times 1.5 is 273. So what's above 273? Reggie Alecki? Okay, that's relevant. Scoville, no. Roy Moon, maybe. Lilligant, Miascarado, this guy, no. Iron Bundle, but you wouldn't outspeed that with Scarf anyways. Same with Fluttermane that has Speed Booster Energy. So I don't think it's probably worth it. And a lot of Red Sea Likeys are modest anyways, because they already know they outspeed almost everything. So yeah, just give it modest. And then as far as the speed that you should use, well, do you want to outspeed Screamtail? Maybe. Yeah, you probably do, actually, because that would really suck if you weren't. But I guess you don't have to, though. If you're not gonna use that fast of a one, I'm trying to think of what you would use with it. So 269 after the 1.5 boost is what? 179. What? No, you would need like 180 speed to outspeed Screamtail. But I'm looking at the rest of the list and seeing what's common. Pelipper and Tailwind, you would probably want to outspeed that. And you would outspeed a lot of the medium speed Pokemon too. So what was that speed? 234? 234 divided by 1.5. Yeah, that's 156, which is not very much investment. And then you put it in bulk. So this, or like I was saying, 180 speed if you're worried about Screamtail. But if you're not worried about Screamtail, then it probably doesn't need to be that fast. You could make it actually outspeed Reggie Alecki, the modest one, which is 252 speed. I should really put that on here. Okay, so 252 speed, 253 divided by 1.5. So it would need to be like 169 speed to outspeed that. It may or may not be worth it. Okay, but if you're going to use the speedy Spectrier like that with Scarf, then you probably should use 180 speed and outspeed the Screamtail also. Alright. Scarf specs, but then you can also use a different one. You can take off the Scarf, take off Psychic, probably use like Substitute. People are trying to, I think they were using like Protect Sub or Calm Mind, trying to stall for time until one of the two opposing Pokemon get low enough HP where they can finish it off, and then they go for the kill and get the Grenade boost. So you could do that. Use whatever item you want to use. Leftovers, life orb. There's a lot of good items with Spectrier. So you could use one like this. I would probably not use Calm Mind. Sub is already a setup move. So, and it's better for stalling because it works versus physical moves too, and Spore and whatnot. So, I would actually want to try this because getting a Grim Day boost has a lot of potential, and that's not something that Fluttermane can actually do. So, do you have to use Terra Fighting with it? No. But you probably should because you're trying to get the Grim Day boost and it has great coverage with fighting. But if you're trying to use a defensive one, I mean, you would wall a Shadow Ball with it, but then they could Dazzling Gleam. So I can understand if you don't want to use fighting because you're worried about just getting hit by, if they predict right, either a Ghost move or a Fairy move from Fluttermane and it outspeeds it. So you could use a Sash one and still use Terra Fighting, or you could, I don't know, not lead it. Well, I shouldn't say not lead it versus Fluttermane because it's too common. Not pick it versus it. So, I mean, that's the problem. You could use maybe a steel one with Terra Steel Blast and wall the Fluttermane and what am I doing? Wall the Fluttermane or Sash Suckers, wall the Fluttermane and you could even use Calm Mind with it. Wall the Fluttermane and then hit back hard. You should kill it, I think, in one hit. Let's double check on that. Yeah, because it has so much special attack. That's more than Fluttermane has. So it's probably gonna kill. And Shadow Ball does super affect Fluttermane, but if you want something to not only wall it but one shot it, then you probably would have to use Terra Blast Steel, because the most common Terra type on Fluttermane is Fairy. And if it's not, then they do less damage with Fairy moves. So you actually do way more than that because, well, let's actually look without Life Orb. So this is a timid one. That's not going to one-shot most of the time. If you use a modest one, it's going to one-shot 81.3% of the time if they use no bulk besides 4 in special defense. So if you give it like Specs or Life Orb, though, now we're talking. And even if they use max HP, they're probably going to die. Yeah. So that's pretty good. The Life Orb one looks pretty good for Terra Steel Blast. So lots of different ideas, except you could even use a different move besides Sub. Since Sub and Life Orb don't go great together, maybe Calm Mind or something, I don't know. But things to think about. So, in summation, I think Spectrier is better than Fluttermane in some ways, but generally Fluttermane's better because it's speedier, it has 2 offensive and I guess you could say defensive stabs. It doesn't get the Grim Day boost, but it just is a really high tier Pokemon. And Spectrier, it being weak to Sucker Punch and other moves. I mean, fighting would resist that at least, but its main issue will always probably be only having one stab move, and yeah, just being outsped by similar Pokemon, like kind of like outclassed by similar Pokemon. But if you really use it to its niche, which is really trying to get that Grenade boost, and or using it because it has more bulk and offense than Fluttermane, then it's fine. So personally, I don't think I would use a Specs one. I would want to either almost always outspeed them, or if not, just try to stall for turns, get the knockout, and at the right time get a Grenade boost, and then keep going from there, surviving as long as you can after that. So some Spectriers must, or some Spectriers could like focus more on like Fluttermane than just stuff in general, but I don't think I would personally worry that much about it. I mean, maybe, but I would probably just try to bring Spectrier in when they don't have Fluttermane out. Like maybe keep it in the back, switch it in at the right time. After it's probably not good as a lead anyways. You want to keep it in the back usually because you can finish them off easier and then kind of snowball the rest of the game after that. So try to get their speedier Pokemon knocked out first usually. Oh, that may not always be the threat, but if you can take out their Fluttermane early game and go for like an end game sweep with Spectrier, then that's great. So go for it. So thanks for watching.